Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. This is the final regular episode of the 2020-2021 season. We'll be back in fall of 2021 before Halloween, and we'll have our Halloween episodes and our Halloween giveaway, and we'll continue then through the spring of 2022 with another season. During the summer hiatus, we'll have, I'm sure, a few special episodes, maybe some reviews of new toys, maybe some special themed episodes. We'll see. I don't have anything specific planned, but I'm sure we'll do something. We always do. In the meantime, and I usually do this at the end, I'll do this early this time, you need to subscribe to this channel to know when those special episodes are uploaded, because it won't be on a regular schedule every week anymore for a few months. Also, you need to join the Facebook group. There is a Basement of Horror Facebook group. And I've already posted a couple of review videos on that group that I haven't posted on the YouTube channel. And I'll do more of that. There will be some reviews I'm sure that I will do over the summer on the YouTube channel. But I'm going to try to do Facebook exclusive content for that group. Nothing fancy. This will always be the main attraction here, this YouTube show. But I do want to provide some special content for that Facebook group. So to see that, you have to be in the Facebook group. And you really should be in the Facebook group anyway, because it's shaping up to be a good group, a good mix of people, and I think the more the merrier. Every week there's more discussion and more variety, and it will only benefit from more and more members. It hasn't gotten out of hand yet, and I don't think it will. It's a good place, and it'll be even better if you are a part of it. So join that Facebook group. Okay, so this is the final regular episode of the season. And if you've ever read the Sesame Street book, the monster at the end of this book, it kind of feels like that. In that book, Grover keeps telling the reader, please don't turn another page, because every time you turn the page, you bring us closer to the end of the book. And there's a monster at the end of the book. And I'm so scared of monsters. And then, of course, you go ahead and turn the page. And then he's like, no, why did you turn the page? I told you not to turn the page. Please, please don't turn the next page, because there's a monster at the end of the book, and I'm so afraid of monsters. Turn the page. Oh, no. And he keeps doing that, trying to build brick walls and things to try to stop you from turning the page. And, of course, you turn the page. Nothing it does can stop you until you get to the final, next to the last page. And he says, please, there's only one more page left. Don't turn the page. If you turn the page, we'll be at the end of the book. And there's a monster at the end of the book. I'm so afraid of monsters. And that's where we're at now. And just like in the book, we go ahead and turn the page. And then we find the monster at the end of the book is Grover. And he's like, oh, it's me. You know, he had nothing to be afraid of. And sure enough, we turn the page in the show to the end of the season, the last show of the season, and there's a monster at the end of the season, and it's me. I'm always the monster at the end of the season. I'm the monster in this show. Of all the monsters we show, I guess I'm the king monster sitting right here hosting the show. And this episode, in a way, will be about me. It won't be my life story or anything like that. I might do that one of these days, but not this time. But it will be personal. It'll be about stuff that has directly to do with me. I mean, everything I show you is personal because it's part of my collection and it's what I like. It's all personal. But these things are particularly personal because it's stuff that I made as a child. So I'm going to show you some things that are basically toys that I made when I was a child, and then some drawings that I made as a child. So we'll have two parts. We'll show you the three-dimensional toys first. Then we're going to have to take a break and change the cameras. And then we'll show you the drawings, because then I have to do some handheld camera stuff to show you the drawings. And then it'll be time to bring it to a close. See, we're already almost over. We've just begun, and I'm already talking about the end of the episode. But we got a while to go. I imagine we have about an hour here together. Hopefully not 2 or 3 hours. Hopefully just an hour or so. And then we'll be off for the summer. It's like the last day of school. And you're looking at the clock. Like when I went to school, I think was it 2 or 3 o'clock? I think it was 3, depending on what grade it was. I think, let's say 3 o'clock was the end of the school day. So it's like, it's 2 o'clock right now. We're looking at the clock. The last day of school before summer break. And it's like 1 more hour to go, 1 more hour to go. And finally that bell's gonna ring and like, yay, summer! Everyone's gonna run out the building. So that's where we're at here. The last day of school. We're the monster at the end of this book, and we're the last day of school. And let's see how many other allegories I can come up with by the end of the episode. Okay, it looks like a pizza box, doesn't it? No, this is not my lunch. Now, where am I gonna put this? It's kind of ugly sitting here on the table. Now, let's see. So here's what I have in there. Can you see that? Maybe this camera. I have 3 cameras today, like I did with the King Kong and Godzilla episodes. All right. Well, let's see. What should I do first? Yeah, okay. Well, here we go. We'll do these fuzzy little guys first. Whoop. Because you're still probably wondering, what are they even talking about, toys that he made? We'll start kind of modestly and work our way up. Okay, so here is a little fuzzy guy with one eye, made of pipe cleaners, and a little fuzz ball. Here's a bigger one. He's kind of, let me separate his legs there. Okay, there you go, you can see his legs. So he's got 2 arms and 2 legs, body and a head. Kind of get them both together, let's see. There they are, a tall one and a short one. These are very simple toys. And I'm starting with these because I'm kind of warming up to this. Got to rev up here. And my brother and I made these as kids, and we made a lot of other things similar to these. And when we were kids, we had an imaginary toy company. And this toy company was called Big Boss Industries. And it had a logo, Big Boss Industries. And the Big Boss, he looked like a mix, in our imagination, he looked like a mix of Alfred Hitchcock and the Kingpin from Spider-Man. And so in this game we would play, we would make stuff like that and much more advanced than that, you'll see. We would make these toys, these homemade toys, and we would pretend that we were working for Big Boss Industries. We were in the factory, and he was a slave driver. He was a hard, mean boss, and he was making us work so hard to make these toys for this company. And we were just slaving away, like, oh boy, that big boss, my gosh. We have to make these toys. We just have to make more and more toys. When is it going to be quitting time? That was the game. So we would make these toys and pretend like it was such an ordeal because we're working for Big Boss Industries. And he would be, again, this is in our imagination, he would be like in his office watching us, making sure we were working. He expected these toys to be made. We were on a schedule. We had to get these toys out. We were producing these toys. We had to get them out, so people could buy the toys. And week after week, we would make these toys, these goofy toys. But some of them were pretty cool. And unfortunately, not a lot has survived. I think my brother may have a few that I don't have. But here, let's show you. Let's go on with another product line. These are so fragile. One more. Oh boy. Gosh, it's amazing these are even around. Okay, so these are little people. They're made of rubber balloons stuffed with cotton, then with a paper head that's also stuffed with cotton. And then they have little paper arms and legs and bodies drawn on. And I don't remember exactly what these were called, but I think it was, and pardon the very un-PC name, but these were either fat people or chubby people, something like that. That's what we call these, because they're all chubby. These balloons are still supple. And they have these squeezy, squishable little bellies. You could just kind of push on them. And they're supposed to be just like regular people. Look at him. He kind of reminds me of the little person from Twin Peaks, doesn't he? His face kind of looks like that. The little man from Another Place. That wasn't, this was made, I should put this in a historical context. These were made in the 1970s. What you're looking at here, these things are from the 70s. Here's a woman. She looks kind of like an opera singer, doesn't she? She has like a gown and a necklace. Okay, one more. Ooh. Yikes, it's kind of coming apart there. This little guy. So the idea was that they were just little tubby, chubby, cute little people with round little bellies made of balloons. They kind of stand up, don't they? Let's see if we can get them to stand up now. made of rubber balloons. Let's see if we can get them to stand up. They're not going to stand up on their own. One of them does. Well, I don't know if you can see this on this other camera over here. So, this was a product line of Big Boss Industries. These little rubber people with these squishy little balloon bodies. And I think Big Boss wanted these because he was big himself. He was Big Boss. He was big. And imagine, like I said, imagine a mix of, imagine the Kingpin from Spider-Man, but with Alfred Hitchcock's persona. That's kind of what he was. And he would be up in his office overseeing the production of these toys. I think he liked this imaginary character, liked this product line because it reminded him of himself. I think that was the idea. So, I don't know if these were a hit in the marketplace or not. I'm not sure. Our job was just to make the toys. We didn't. After that, I went to the marketing department and sales, and then it was up to them to get the product in the stores. We just made it. Well, we designed it and we made it. So, let's see, what's another Big Boss kind of a thing? Now, I don't know if this, so we're going to move out of the Big Boss era in a little bit here. I don't know if these are technically Big Boss toys or not. I think these might have been role-playing toys that we made for ourselves to play with, but they're kind of, they kind of fit with the Big Boss stuff. That's the kind of stuff we made in our imaginary Big Boss Industries play environment. our wasn't really a play environment, it was just our bedroom. But so here's a little Martian. I don't think he's supposed to be like the Warner Brothers, what's his name, Marvin the Martian. I don't think that's who that is. I think it's the original Martian, but he obviously looks kind of like that. Now this has to be, this looks like something, I mean, the Martian looks like it's probably my brother's idea. I might have done the head, I don't remember. This has got my brother written all over it. The colors and just the whole idea, the helmet. So that's probably my brother Gamel who designed and executed this one. And probably the last one we saw too. Although I might have done the head on the last one, I don't remember. We got some fuzzy hair on him. Got a helmet made from like an egg carton. He has a kind of Japanese animation kind of a quality. He's like something you would have seen in a Japanese anime from the 60s or 70s. He kind of has that quality. I don't think he's supposed to be anyone in particular. I think he's an original character. I don't know what he's supposed to be. He's got the helmet and the glasses and some fuzzy hair on him and this uniform. Is he a race car driver? Does he pilot a UFO or a rocket ship? Or I don't know. So I don't know if these are from the Big Boss era, but eventually, well, so let me back up. So before we had Big Boss, I don't know how old that would have been, but it was in the 1970s. Before that, before my brother and I got together for this Big Boss thing, I would make toys on my own. And my brother Gamel, he would make his own toys as well. So we did it long before this imaginary Big Boss game got started. We were each of us making our own toys. And the thing that I remember the most, I would try to make Aurora monster model kits out of construction paper. So I would make different various monsters, but I wouldn't just draw them out of construction paper and then like cut them out. I would make all these different parts. So I would make like the arms, 2 halves of the arm, and then the hand a separate piece, and like 2 halves of the head and 2 halves of the body, and the legs would be in 2 halves, and the feet would be separate pieces, and then there'd be a base, and there'd be other things to put on the base. So I draw all these parts out on construction paper and cut them all out individually, and then glue or tape them together. And of course they wouldn't stand up on their own, but I would hold them up, and they have a base, and so they'd be like my own homemade Aurora monster model kit that I made by drawing it. So, and I also took actual Aurora instruction sheets from the actual models, and I would cut them out, cut the pieces out, and glue or tape them together. In addition to the actual, I don't have my creature model like I've had the last several episodes, but you've seen in previous episodes. So imagine, because I think the creature is one of the ones I did this to, I took the instructions and cut out all the pieces in the instruction sheet and glued it all together, taped it together. I usually use tape, and made a paper version of the model kit. So I would do stuff like that. Then I really liked the Azrakanwe Bendums. As a kid, I had most of those, but they didn't have a hunchback. And I thought I had that hunchback because I think my brother has it. If he doesn't, it's my dad has some of my stuff in different places that I don't know. He's probably forgotten where he's put all of it. But I think that hunchback still exists somewhere, and I wish I had it here to show you. I know I've seen that hunchback in the last 10 years, so if it made it that long, then it's probably still around. But basically it's a construction paper Bendum. It's the Aurora model kit, Hunchback of Notre Dame, but it's done as like a 5-inch tall, like the Azrak Bendies, and it's got 2 halves, the front and the back, in the kind of the stance that the Bendums, the Ahai Bendums have. And then it's got a back that's like a separate piece that's glued on or taped on. And it's got wires inside of it so you can bend it. So that was like my stand-in Hunchback Bendum with the other Azrak Bendums. And I was always upset that there weren't any Jaws toys. As a kid, I wanted Jaws toys. I had the sharks, but I wanted an orca. I wanted the whole 9 yards. So I made an orca playset out of, it was supposed to be resembling like the Kenner Star Wars playsets. So this was the idea, was if Kenner made an orca playset, this is what it would be in my imagination. And it was like this big, and I made it all out of construction paper. And it had, well, obviously it had the sides, it had the, I don't know, the parts of a ship, but all the parts you would expect. And you could take the top off, I think, so that you'd have like figures. I didn't have any, I just used Adventure People to go inside of it and enact scenes in there, like the drinking scene and all that. I think it had a, well, I don't know. One thing that was kind of weird was that it had a pole, like an axle in the middle with like knobs. And so instead of like taking the whole thing, like when the shark comes and like trying to tilt this construction paper thing, I made like knobs to like tilt the inside like that. So they worked, at least temporarily. I don't know how long this thing lasted, probably not more than a couple days before it fell apart, but you could turn the knobs and the inside base would move to simulate the thing tipping. So the outside wouldn't move, but the inside would move. So, I think I even made like a pretend box. Like if Kenner made this, they would make a box. So I think I made like a hastily drawn box and taped it together. So it was like, so it was the Kenner orca playset, all made out of construction paper. I can imagine that probably didn't last long because it was so huge and flimsy, and I'm sure it got, and especially once I started getting adventure people and rubber sharks and things, it probably just fell all to pieces. My grandmother used to have, and she's been gone for 25 years or more, but she used to have in her house, was it a King Kong or a creature from the Black Lagoon? She had both. I think this one was King Kong. There's something you're going to see. I don't remember. It's not the same thing, but I think this was King Kong, the one she had. It was pretty big. It was on like a brown paper. I don't know if it was from a shopping bag or something else. And it had all the different parts. I think it was King Kong in different colors of construction paper. And he had one hand with a little Anne in his hand and little trees and things glued on. And again, this was supposed to be like a Aurora model kit. That's why it was all in different pieces and different colors and it put together that way. And I did a Kong like that. And I did a creature like that. And I did something, I think it's a Kong or a creature. I think I've got it. We'll see later. I think I've got something like that in this stack over here. That's smaller though. The one in here is going to be small, but the ones I'm talking about are bigger. So I did a lot of stuff like that. Oh, we're talking like kindergarten age. It's about how old I would have been. And my brother did stuff like that. And then more like elementary school age, third, fourth, fifth grade would be when we were doing the Big Boss Industries. And then going into getting like fifth, sixth grade would be some of the stuff we're going to see here. Okay, so moving out of Big Boss. My brother and I both were just making toys that we wanted to play with. Now here, this is like the last of that we'll see of this type of toy. This is some kind of a weird, this is some kind of a weird alien. I don't know if that's supposed to be like Tarkus or whatever his name is from John Carter of Mars. That might be what it is. I'm sure my brother made this one. And if it's supposed to be that John Carter character, then for sure my brother made it because he's all into that. But I don't know if that's who that's supposed to be. Oh, look at his, he's so delicate. Gosh, look at his little mandibles. Like those tiny little things. And his head is wanting to come off, so got to be very careful there. He's so fragile. Okay, so now we take a bit of a leap forward. Now I made this one. And he's all bendable. He's got wires all inside of him. He's made of kneaded rubber erasers. And Gamel and I used kneaded erasers a lot. That was like our medium, was kneaded erasers. I don't know who he's supposed to be. I think he's just an imaginary monster. Probably an alien. He's cute. Now, I made a lot of kneaded eraser creatures like this. My brother and I made some ETs because we didn't have any extra ET extraterrestrial toys, except my brother had a stuffed one. But we didn't have any, like, how they made those action figures, kind of cheesy action figures but they came out didn't they come out kind of late? I don't remember if they had them right away when E.T. was new. I think it was a situation kind of like the first Star Wars where the toys were delayed because no one really thought it was going to be a marketable film, and it was like a delayed reaction before the toys finally were available. And when the E.T. toys finally did come out, they were kind of chintzy. So, and by the time there were E.T. toys, I was starting to grow out of toys by that point. My brother was still into toys, and I think he had a couple of those E.T. things. But when E.T. first came out, if there had been toys, we both would have played with them. We were still young enough to play with toys at that point, but there wasn't anything. So we made our own, and I don't have any of those to show you, but we made them the same way we made this thing. Same kind of construction. We made ETs, and they weren't bad. We made a few of them because we wanted not just ET himself, but we wanted his people, the other aliens from his species, so we'd have friends. And then we'd make ET spaceships out of milk cartons, not cardboard cartons, the plastic cartons, the plastic milk containers. We cut them in half. And we also use those for Yoda houses as well, but that's another thing. But we would make ET spaceships out of those. And I cut my thumb open with an X-Acto knife making one of those, and I think I still got the scar. Yeah, which finger is it? Well, I remember that. I was at my grandparents' house, and the blood was just coming out. And we wrapped it up, and then just went back to making the E.T. spaceship. Almost cut my thumb off. Oh, well. Wrap it up, back to work. And then we had we could stick a flashlight in it to make it light up so it could land and light up. And then we had our little kneaded eraser figurines of E.T. and his friends to have little adventures. Also, I really liked the Wisconsin mythological creature, the hodag, from, was it called Rhinelander, Wisconsin? I hope I've got that right, because I didn't look that up ahead of time. But today I've got a pretty nice hodag collection, which I'll do an episode on at some point. But I've got a lot of hodag stuff that I would have loved to have had as a kid. But as a kid, there was no hodag anything that I knew of. There actually was. I didn't know about it because it was only available in Wisconsin for tourists at the gift shop and everything. I would have loved to have had some of that, but I didn't know that existed. Of course, this was a generation before social media, years and years before the internet. Wasn't any awareness of anything that, if it wasn't in my neighborhood, I didn't know about it. If it wasn't at the local venture store, I didn't know about it. If it wasn't at Ben Franklin, I didn't know about it. But I made a little kneaded eraser hodag, which actually is pretty good. I think I still have that. So I think it's in a toy box or something. One of these days I'll be rummaging around and I'll find it. Because I know it survived through the 90s, I'm sure. And I think it survived into the 21st century because I remember 20 years ago looking at it. So I don't know why I don't have it now. Maybe it's with I don't think so, but maybe it's with my hodag collection. I didn't even think to look in that box. Maybe years ago I put it in with that stuff. I doubt it, but could be. But as a kid, I made this hodag figure, about so big. And it looked pretty good. It was made of kneaded erasers. I think it had a foil core. And I think I just kind of sculpted out of foil. Then I put the kneaded erasers over that, I think. And then I painted it. And it looks a lot like the official hodag stuff I have as a collector today. except at that time I didn't know that the hodag had two horns. I thought he had one horn, like a rhinoceros. So I made that mistake. He only has one horn. But other than that, he looks a lot like this thing I made looked a lot like some of the official hodag souvenir figurines that were made in Wisconsin over the years. And I wish I had that to show you. I don't. What else did I make? So I made, out of kneaded erasers, alternate heads for a lot of toys. My brother and I did a lot of Indiana Jones type games, because my brother had the 12-inch Indiana Jones. And so there was a summer there. This was right at the end of when I was just about to grow out of playing with toys. We caught Indiana Jones just in the nick of time before, by the time the Temple of Doom came out, I wasn't playing with toys anymore. But anyway, so we would have our own Indiana Jones adventures and set up these big temples for Indiana Jones to explore, and all these booby traps and everything. We would do it indoors, outdoors, whatever. We'd spend hours or days setting up all the stuff, and then Indy would go through and it would all trigger the booby traps. But of course we had to have like a opening of the ark kind of a scene, where there was an ark or something else, whatever he was hunting for. It would have the same effect. The bad guys would melt or whatever. So I would make kneaded eraser alternate heads for action figures. So often Dr. Chrome Dome got the brunt of this. He was a good stand-in. Also maybe some G.I. Joes. Figures that had easily removable heads would end up being these bad guys because we could swap their heads out. And I would make kneaded eraser substitutes, take the real head off and put the kneaded eraser head on, and they would be like melted versions of their faces. Like deformed, disfigured, melted versions with like skeletal elements showing through or beneath the skin or whatever. Like we didn't have one that exploded. They were all kind of like melty ones, or melting or shriveling or stuff like that. So I would sculpt them and paint them and everything. Oh, and my bionic Bigfoot. I made him a scarier face when he wasn't supposed to be bionic Bigfoot, when he was supposed to be a real Bigfoot. I would give him a kneaded eraser mask that would just stick on his face, and it would be a scarier face. And then he was the real Bigfoot instead of bionic Bigfoot. And if I wanted him to go back to bionic Bigfoot, I would take that off and show his real face. So that's some of the ways I used kneaded rubber erasers. And my brother did the same kind of stuff. And this is a good example. I don't know why this one happened to survive, but it's a good example of the kind of sculptural things we did with kneaded erasers, how we would sculpt it and paint it and put wires inside of it so it was posable. And we went through a period where we tried to make actual stop motion. We would sculpt these things in clay, and then we tried to make fiberglass molds, and we didn't get very far. The first time we tried to do fiberglass molds, we had no idea how to make a mold. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. So of course you couldn't get the fiberglass off. We didn't understand how to make a half and then prepare it in such a way that you could have another half that would come off. We had no idea, and there was no one to ask. There was no one to say, show us how to do this. We had a book about stop motion that, in a kind of half-hearted way, pretended to show you how to do that, but it didn't have enough detail, not for a kid anyway, to figure it out. Kind of like the makeup books. Like a lot of kids, I had Tom Savini's Grand Illusions, which had just enough information to frustrate you, but not enough to actually execute what he was talking about. But I tried anyway. But there was a few books like that about stop motion models. And so we tried. We did some decent sculptures in clay, but when it came time to make the mold, that was what killed us. Just the mold. Couldn't get past that. Same thing with like trying to do prosthetics. It was the mold. It just couldn't do it. And probably today, as a kid, during this period I'm talking about, I would sculpt copies of action figure heads, like all the Tomland famous monsters of legend. I sculpt replicas of their heads just as practice to see if I could. And I was able to do a pretty good job in clay making duplicates of their heads. I wasn't going to swap their heads or anything. I just wanted to see if I could do it. And I could. And it came out pretty good. So I'm, between that and the stop motion stuff we're trying to do, if I could have figured out how to make molds at that age, I probably would have gone on to making masks and all kinds of other stuff, and maybe stop motion stuff, who knows. And who knows where that would have taken me. But and I think this trips up a lot of people, the mold making part. Maybe you can do the sculpting, maybe you can do other artistic things, but it's making the mold is the stumbling block. And I see like mask groups today on Facebook, wherever, people who want to make masks and they can do the sculpting and they understand how to work with the rubber, and if they have a unpainted rubber mask, they can paint it beautifully or hair it beautifully, and they can sculpt a mask, the head form and everything. But the place where they have trouble is the mold. They fail at the mold, and some of them just give up. Probably most give up. And I think that's the test, whether they get over that hump of figuring out how to make molds. Depends really whether they go on to make masks or not. I think there's a lot of people who can sculpt a mask, who can paint or hair a mask, but they can't mold a mask. And I never got the hang of molds. Any material, I never could do it. I mean, if I really, really wanted to now, and I put the work and time into it, I guess I could figure it out because the information's out there. But as a kid, forget it. As a kid, yeah, I think it's admirable that we even got as far as we did trying to work with fiberglass as kids. Oh my goodness. But here's another example of a weird little monster. And this is a mummy, but you can see he's got a disfigured face. And it's even more disfigured because there's holes in his face. That's battle damage. That wasn't supposed to be there. He's been poked by pointy objects. I think some adventure people speared his head a few times. But he's a mummy. He's got like a little hunchback. And he's not supposed to be an Egyptian mummy. He's like a monster mummy. He's like some kind of thing that was buried. So I think probably a couple of things. I think I was thinking of Curse of Bigfoot, with that mummified Bigfoot that they find. He's encased in mud. They call him a mummy, I think, in the movie. And of course, that movie was originally Teenagers versus the Thing, or Teenagers Meet the Thing, or something like that, before it was turned into a Bigfoot movie. It was originally supposed to be just some prehistoric man, or prehistoric ape man or something. Well, I think that's where the idea for this came from. It's a mummy, but it's not a human mummy. It's a mummy of some creature from the past. I think I was also influenced by Curse of the Faceless Man, because he has these big hands and these long arms. And in my imagination, the Faceless Man always had big hands and oversized, long arms and oversized hands. even though he doesn't, the faceless man doesn't have that in the movie, but in my imagination he did for some reason. That's the way I imagined him. So I think that might have been the inspiration for the arms and the long arms and the big hands. Also, it could be simian. You know, it could be, again, the Curse of Bigfoot thing. I could have thought of him as like an ape of some kind. But that head, it almost looks like the Night Stalker zombie. I might have been thinking of that, the zombie from the Night Stalker. I don't know. But he's got so many holes now from, I think, adventure people with, what were those like pickup sticks? Or I don't know what game it is. It has those pointy plastic, like giant toothpicks, but they're plastic and they're different colors. I think adventure people use those to like kill this thing, like stabbing it in the head. And of course, he's got blood all over him, like any 70s mummy should have. Okay, now, so I was talking about stop motion. I wish I had more of these little guys. My brother and I made a whole army. Well, I say we made like a half dozen, let's say, of these skeletons. And these are supposed to be Ray Harryhausen, Jason, and the Argonauts battling skeletons. You see his little sword there. And this tape on his hand is the handle for his shield. So he used to have a cardboard shield attached to that handle. The shield's disappeared, but he still has the hand. He's still gripping the handle, but the shield itself is gone. So we had several of these. They were pretty easy to make, so we could build up a little group of them, and they would, have little sword battles with whatever action figures or they were fighting. So those are supposed to be Jason and the Argonauts skeletons. And we had several. Now this is the only one left, as far as I know. I wish I had more. I wish I had them all. And their shields, too. But imagine a few of those and playing with those, having a little battle, like, I don't know, let's use him. Imagine. See, you can actually play with these things. You can have little battles. But to this day, I don't know if children would play with it, but it's a shame we never had proper Ray Harryhausen toys. When we were kids, we wanted Ray Harryhausen toys. There wasn't any such thing until Clash of the Titans, and even then it was pretty sparse. I know in the 90s, Trendmasters was going to make a Ray Harryhausen series, and for whatever reason, that never happened. In later years, X Plus made some Harryhausen vinyl figures, and I have a few of those. And I don't know, some other companies then, that kind of broke the ice, and then other companies came in and made Ray Harryhausen stuff. So there have been some things. I think it's all been vinyl stuff or statues. We still haven't had, like, how like NECA has all the Godzilla figures that you can find at Target. I could have Ray Harryhausen stuff like that. So we still haven't had a proper Ray Harryhausen toy series. We've had vinyl, Sophie kind of stuff, and we've had statues, but we haven't had, except for Clash of the Titans, we haven't had a real toy series that you could play with. Unfortunately, today, I don't know if there's any kids who care less about Ray Harryhausen or playing with toys. So I don't know if there's any point now, but it would have been good when I was a kid because we wanted them and we didn't have them. So we made our own. Now this guy, I have two, let's show him. Before I run out of tape on this third camera, here's Ray Harryhausen toys that we made as kids. Well, I made both of these. My brother made stuff too, but what I have that survives are these two that I made and that skeleton that I made. And I don't know if my brother kept any of the stuff he made or not. I kept these. So this, you can see he's kind of substantial. He's a little bigger. This is, I think he's called the Troglodyte from Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, if I'm correct. The Troglodyte from Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. Okay, so I made that as a kid because I wanted to play with Ray Harryhausen toys, and there weren't any. So I made this. His head is a kneaded eraser. His head is made from kneaded erasers, and he's got like fuzz from whatever. I don't remember where I got this fuzz. Oh, I guess it's like a fun fur kind of a cloth that I bought and pulled the fur off. His horn is from an Imagineering vampire teeth set that I cut up. It's Imagineering vampire teeth fang. There. Is that what it is? Yeah, that's what it is. Imagineering fang up on, for a horn. So I guess that glows in the dark. That's an added bonus. But, you know, I don't know. Imagineering vampire teeth didn't necessarily glow in the dark. I think some did and some didn't. I'm not sure about that. I have several... so I have a few Imagineering sets of vampire teeth. Do they all glow in the dark? I'm not sure. But anyway, that's the Imagineering horn. And it's got a felt loincloth. And so the body is, I think he's wire, then foil over the wire, and then Scotch tape wrapped over that, and then painted, and then fur glued on top of that. He's pretty substantial, pretty solid. I'm surprised that he's in one piece. I'm surprised it just hasn't all fallen apart. He's in pretty good shape. You know, I'm not sure that he would, if I went back in time and saw him back in the day when I was a kid, I don't know if he would look all that different. He's held up very well. So I didn't have a Sinbad figure. I'm not sure what figures I play. I think I just played with him. I think I just liked this character, this Troglodyte. I liked him. I just, you know, played with his own adventures. I don't think I needed Sinbad. Does he stand up? Can he stand up? He did stand up for a second there, didn't he? Let's put you over here. All right, I guess this is the finale. That is Medusa, obviously, from Clash of the Titans. And my brother had Perseus and Calibos, I think. Did he have Perseus or not? He had Calibos, that's for sure. Who else did he? Was that the only one he had? I don't remember. I know he sure didn't have the Kraken. I know that. Yeah, but anyway, we wanted a Medusa. And they did not, as you know, Mattel did not make a Medusa. So we're going to lose this camera in a second. I want to make sure I got the length of Medusa, you know, on camera so you can see how long she is. So now we'll move to this one. So there she is. You can see all of her snakes are all made of foil. There's her face. Her head turns. Her head comes off. I'm not going to take it off. Her head comes off, and it's red. Like her neck is red to simulate her head being cut off. She's got her quiver and toothpicks for arrows. She's got a bra, which she didn't have in the movie. I don't know if I realized she didn't have a. I don't know if you wouldn't call that bra, whatever you would call that. She has a top on. I don't know if I remember that she didn't have that in the movie. I don't know why her hands are red and blue. I'm not sure what that was all about. Are they the same color on? I don't know. She's green mostly, and her tail's faded because it's made of fabric, like gauze, bandages, gauze adhesive. You know, it's like an adhesive on one side, but it's like a strip of gauze bandages just wrapped around. So because it's fabric, though, it's soaked up the color over time. But you can see some of the colors that were there. Green and red. Mostly red on the underside. And what's keeping her quiver on? Is that a rubber band? I think it is. I don't want to touch that rubber band because that has got to be mummified. How's that rubber band even holding together? If I touch it, it'll probably break. And she kind of supports herself a little. It's not up enough, but she kind of crawls along like that. She kind of crawl. So this was my Medusa. My Clash of the Titans Medusa. And I don't know what figures we used. We had Calabos, but I'm pronouncing that a weird way. Calabos. I don't know. The devil guy. We had him. I thought we had Perseus as well, but maybe we didn't. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway. We sure didn't have all four of the figures, and we didn't have the Kraken, so we probably substituted other toys, to play. We didn't. I don't think we played Clash of the Titans. I think we just played ancient Greece stuff, or maybe not even that. Maybe because why wouldn't, if Medusa wasn't killed back then, she'd still be alive now. So maybe, for all I know, we could have had Spider-Man or the Hulk or something fighting Medusa. I don't know. Her eyes are red, like she's glowing, turning someone to stone. For all I know, we probably did have like superheroes and stuff. Maybe Star Wars characters fighting Medusa. Didn't have to be necessarily Clash of the Titans or ancient Greece. Could have been any kind of character. The point is, we had a Medusa toy. So that's something a lot of kids wanted. If they grew up at that time and they liked Ray Harryhausen and Clash of the Titans, I think any kid who liked that movie wanted a Medusa. And why Mattel didn't make her, I don't know. I mean, you could theorize, but they certainly should have made her. If they were going to make a Clash of the Titans set, which they did, if they were going to make a Kraken, probably the least practical character to make, then surely they should have made Medusa. It's kind of silly that they didn't. If the fact that she was topless was an issue, give her a top, like I did. Whatever. Or just make her so scaly that it didn't really matter. I think, didn't the Flash Gordon figure series have a female lizard person? I don't think the lizard person had clothing, did it? So what's the difference? I don't know. They should have made a Medusa. Well, we did. Now this wasn't a Big Boss toy, Big Boss Industries thing. This was after that. This was something where I just wanted a Medusa to play with. I think my brother and I both wanted a Medusa. So that's it with the toys. I'm going to put these away. Then I'm going to show you the drawings. We're about an hour into this. I don't think the drawings are going to take an hour, so we're probably looking at 90 minutes total here. But hey, it's the last show of the season. So let's take a little... I'll take a break. It'll be a second to you, but we'll take a break, put these away, and then we'll have drawings out here. Okay, here we go. We're back. Hello. I've cleaned off the childhood toys, and now we're going to look at drawings. Artwork on paper. So where should we start? Let's start with these framed ones. Why not? Okay, so we're going to do this like this. Let's see if this is going to work. Okay, so right now you're looking at a picture of one of our childhood dogs, Charlie Boy. My brother and I didn't have a lot of pets as kids because my mom just could not tolerate animals in the house. We had a few dogs and one cat. I remember one dog was named Rover, one was named Tippy, and this one was named Charlie Boy. The cat was named Tiger. But we only had these animals for a few weeks, really, maybe a few months. That's it. None of them lasted years because my mom just couldn't stand animals at that time. She was so hyper about having a clean house. And of course, an animal in the house is something you can't control. It doesn't matter if you yell at it or what you do to it. You just can't make it do what you want it to do. And that element of chaos was something she could not handle. And what would happen inevitably is that the animal would go to our grandparents. And that's what happened to Charlie Boy. Charlie Boy started with us and then very soon ended up with our grandparents. And as I recall, my grandparents liked Charlie Boy. I really don't remember anything about Charlie Boy except he was big. At least to me, I mean, as a child, he seemed big. I don't know if he really was, but he seemed big. He was a big, dark dog. And I don't know how long my grandparents had him, maybe a year or two. They didn't have him very long either, because also they didn't really like animals, that they couldn't handle animals. So I think they had more. There was another dog whose name I can't remember. It was a smaller dog. And I think they had that smaller dog a couple of years. Charlie Boy, I don't think they had more than a year or so, if that. They liked him, but they just couldn't handle. They couldn't handle him. So my childhood memories of animals are pretty sad because I would have loved to have had, particularly a cat. As a child, I would have loved a cat. The one cat we had didn't last long. I would have liked the right dog that had the right temperament. And if my parents could have, at that time, properly cared for a dog, they were not able. I mean, they didn't have it in them at that time to care for a dog. It just wasn't in their wheelhouse to do that. Now, my dad's pretty good with the cats we've had, but back then, forget it. Forget it. And I think there's some sadness in this picture. This is a drawing of Charlie Boy. And you can see his legs are turning invisible. That's what those dotted lines mean, and why they're blue instead of black. So he's basically a black dog, but his legs are turning blue and they're dotted, and that meant they're turning invisible. If they had those dotted lines like that, that meant they're invisible. So he's turning invisible. Charlie Boy is turning invisible. He's got invisible legs. And I don't know if that meant he was going away or, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was allegorical like that or if he was just like had superpowers. He was turning into the invisible dog. I don't know. Got a little landscape down there. I'm not sure what's going on there. But that's Charlie Boy turning invisible. Let's see what we got next. Ooh. All right, so this is a fairly typical kitty kind of picture. That's obviously Bert and Ernie. And of course, there's this barrier here. You notice I don't draw them with legs. There's like a wall or something here, and they're coming up from behind it, the way they would on Sesame Street. So it's understood that there'd be puppeteers down there that you can't see. Bert and Ernie, and I'm assuming that's Big Bird. It looks almost like a dinosaur, but he's got this Big Bird tail, and this segmentation tells me he's Big Bird. So there's Big Bird. And then I think, does that flower have a face on it? Or not, I can't tell. I thought it did, I don't think it does. There's flowers. I don't know what the vegetation is back there. I don't know what that pink thing is. I can't tell just looking at it what that pink thing is. I don't know what that is. Maybe when I'm editing this, I'll say, oh yeah, I know what that is. But right now I can't tell. It looks like there's a table or something. And is this a lamp maybe on the table? I don't know. Now, when we were kids, we had those 70s Sesame Street toys. I don't remember the company that made them, but Sesame Street collectors will know what I'm talking about. They were those early Sesame Street hand puppets in the open face boxes, and then Big Bird was that first edition Big Bird, tall stuffed Big Bird with the vinyl legs with the wires in them, and he had the hole in the back of his head so you could open and close his mouth. He had little holes in his back of his arms so you could put your fingers in his arms, move his arms around. He was cute. And I think we've still got the Big Bird maybe somewhere. I'm not sure about that. I know we don't have the Bert and Ernie. We had Bert, Ernie, Oscar, Grover, Cookie Monster. We had a lot of them. And I would have flipped to have a Von Count, but I did not know really until recent years that there was a vinyl-headed Count puppet like these early Bert and Ernie puppets. I would love to have that vinyl-headed Count. I mean, if I got him, I might just collect all the rest of the puppets in that series just to build a collection around that Count puppet. But I would drop some serious money to get that vinyl-headed Count. And that might be the inspiration then to go from there to collect the rest of that 70s Sesame Street puppet and plush toy set. You know, just to build a set around that centerpiece. If I had the centerpiece, the Count, I'd buy the rest, you know, build a collection around him. But I didn't even know he existed as a kid. I would have flipped out over that Count. And then when the Muppet Show came on, we had all the early Muppet Show stuffed toys and puppets and all that, and we still have most of those. I think we have all of our childhood Muppets. I think we still have all of them. And we had the little plastic figurines where you had like the white plastic stick that you stuck in their back, and like turned them into kind of like marionettes or something. I don't know what the idea was with that white stick that you stuck in the back of one, but we had all those little Muppet figures. So anyway, there's Sesame Street, the obligatory Sesame Street picture. I haven't even thought about looking on the... So I don't think these frames are going to have anything... No, they're not. These frames aren't going to have any information on the back. I'm sure the paper these are drawn on, they might have a date or something on the back, but I'm not taking them out of these frames. Okay, this is a good one. All right, so this is a good one. Okay, so here we have, I believe this is a Tyrannosaurus attacking my grandmother. So this is like the Aurora prehistoric scenes, and as a kid I had all of those. Had all the Aurora prehistoric scenes. I love those things. But this is obviously supposed to be a plant from the Aurora, like the swamp or something. One of those sets. It has a little bird up there. And something about these snakes looks like maybe my mother had a part to play in making these snakes. Something about the snakes kind of reminds me of my mom, the way she would draw things. But that's obviously a Tyrannosaurus. Now that could be my mom, but I bet that's my grandmother. It just kind of looks, that outline kind of looks more like my grandmother. I think it's the shape of the head, the hair. Looks more like my grandmother than my mother. And I think I would have been more likely to create a playful image of my grandmother. Because my mother, to put it mildly, was very strict. And I don't think I would have put my mother in a fanciful situation with snakes and dinosaurs. But my grandmother, I think I would have done that, and I probably would have showed it to her and said, "Look, Grandma, you're being attacked by dinosaurs." And she would have... I said, "Oh no, am I? What am I going to do?" So we have all the, I guess that's grass down there. And you notice that the Tyrannosaurus is red, like the Aurora Tyrannosaurus model kit, which I still have. He's not in very good shape, but I still have him. But that's why he's red, because he's the Aurora Tyrannosaurus. And I'm not sure, like I said, something about the look of these snakes, I don't think I created all of this. I think my mother might have had a hand in those snakes. It just looks like the way, something about those snakes looks like maybe my mother made, particularly the snake. She might have made that, I don't know. Or maybe I made all of this, but something about the snakes reminds me of the way my mother would occasionally draw something. Okay, so that's those are dinosaurs and snakes and things in a prehistoric world attacking a woman who I think is probably my grandmother. All right, now here is, as I was telling you about the Aurora style collages I would make. Here's a great example of one. That is obviously an Aurora King Kong model kit turned into a two-dimensional collage. And you see here how I've made it all in separate pieces. So the head is a separate piece, and the neck is, I don't know if the neck is separate. The neck might be part of the torso, but the arms are separate. And now I can tell you that the woman, that looks like my mom's drawing. I think my mom drew that woman. I don't think I drew her. I don't think it was my grandmother. I don't think my grandmother drew stuff. I think my mom did. But that kind of, something about that woman looks like it might, I don't know, the legs kind of look like something I might have drawn at the time. But like the head and the arms look like they might have been my mom. But, you know, maybe I did it. I don't know. But I do think my mom would occasionally contribute little pieces to these things. But you see how he's all made in pieces. This is a little one, and not very elaborate, but also see how he's got like a base. He's got a base that he's attached to. And I guess this is supposed to be Skull Island wall or some part of it. And here's the tree, and even the tree is in pieces because I wanted to put it together like a model kit. And more like it's like the little palm trees in the model kit. That's what those are. And you know, the leaves are separate, like they were on the model kit. Everything's like separate pieces. And again, you can really tell here, that's obviously the little palm trees from the model kit. But I made bigger things like this. And I remember King Kong and Creature, particularly Creature. I don't know if I did any other characters this way. But I wish I had, I think it's a creature that's twice as big as this that my grandmother had hanging in her hallway for, gosh, 25 years. And I don't know what became of that. It's probably still around. Maybe my brother has it. Probably my dad probably has it somewhere in a drawer with a bunch of stuff piled on top of it. So those are the framed ones. Okay, so let's look at these drawings. And I think maybe we'll use this lid to give us some stability. And yeah, let's see here. Let's put these back because I don't want stuff piled on top of each other and getting out of hand and something getting damaged. Okay, so now there's more in that little stack than I thought. Okay, so this is probably a Bigfoot. I would say it's very, very likely that is a Bigfoot. Even though, well, I was going to say even though his feet are yellowed, I'm sure that there's a reason for that. So that's a Bigfoot. I'm quite confident. There's the forest, purple trees in the background. And the reason he's green around him like that, and the reason his feet are yellow, it's not the green, it's not the forest behind him. That's Aurora glow kit colors. So he's supposed to be an Aurora glow in the dark Bigfoot model kit. So this would be like the box for the Aurora Bigfoot that did not exist. I wanted there to be an Aurora Bigfoot, and I wanted it to be in those square boxes with that lettering on the front. going across the front. So he's green because he's glowing in the dark, and he's yellow because if it's a Bigfoot model, what parts are going to be glowing? Well, his feet, obviously, because he's Bigfoot. So those are the yellow parts in the illustration. I don't know why I didn't make his head yellow or his hands yellow, but I did make his head green. That's, it's supposed to be glowing. Should have made him yellow, though. So that's a Bigfoot, and you can imagine that would have been like the square box Aurora artwork, and he would say Bigfoot across there. And later, one of the modern companies put out that, I forgot what company made it, but there was a cartoony Bigfoot model in the 70s, and they put it out in an Aurora style square box with that kind of lettering, but it's not the same. There should have been a proper Aurora Bigfoot in the 70s. I guess we'll set him there. Maybe we'll, I'm worried. I don't want my cat is sleeping over there. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. Oh, look at this. Look at this. I turned it. So it says Raymond Castile, age, is that 8? 1977? I think that's what it says. Here, look at this. Bigfoot. Just to make sure you know. It's a Bigfoot. All right. Now this is a Spider-Man. Lots of web slinging going on there. And I always got exhausted trying to draw Spider-Man because it just, all the webbing on his costume just wore me out. Too many colors. I don't know what to say about that. As a kid, I was a fan of the Ralph Bakshi Spider-Man cartoon. I mean, he did the second season of that. And I didn't know who Ralph Bakshi was, but that was the Spider-Man of my youth. I don't really have anything to say about it. That's why I'm kind of moving on, also because I'm getting sensitive about how long this is taking. Let's see here. Well, I mean, this is King Kong. He's got the Empire State Building. He's got a little N on his shoulder. I don't know if he's triumphant or just being scary. I think he's being scary. He's just roaring. He's about to climb that Empire State Building. He's about to go. I don't know if this is fire back here. Looks like an explosion or fire. Of course, that's a skyscraper. It's got the rectangle, some dots for windows. Yeah, not the most detailed drawing in the world. Let's see here. We'll get into some detail stuff in a second here. Wow. Not this, the next thing coming up. Okay, this is obviously the creature from the Black Lagoon and the fly. And that's obviously the famous Monsters of Legend fly action figure. I mean, you can tell that head is unmistakable. He's getting out of focus there. That head's unmistakable. It's obviously the fly action figure. Although he's got he's got a rope belt like like the Wolfman, you know, like an Aurora or an Azraq Wolfman. That's kind of weird that he's got, what's going on with this? He's got fingers there. I thought that was his fly hand, but it's his human hand. And he's got this fly claw there. He's got his pants and shoes. What's going on with the hand there, I wonder? That's the Tomlin fly, clearly. And now, is that the Ahite creature? Or is that some other creature? He's got a lot of blood on him. So, from the blood, he must be... I don't know. He's not the Azraq creature because of the gills. Those are... almost looks like the golem, that the supposed gills that he has. Nah, it's probably the movie creature. Not like a particular toy. It could be the Aurora creature because I'm looking at this base, and that kind of looks like the Aurora base. You know, I like the back of it maybe. So that might be what's going on there. He's coming up from behind the Aurora base. Don't know. I like his blood. He's got lots of blood. So that's the movie that we never saw, the fly versus the creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't know if they're versus fighting each other or they're just kind of hanging out doing monster stuff. I don't know. I think the creature would probably decimate the fly. The creature would decimate just about any character, really. It'd be hard for most classic monsters to stand up to the creature. You know, maybe the Wolfman, I don't know. Not many. Creature would make mincemeat out of them. Oh, we got some good ones coming up. Okay, so this one seems like it's part of a series, but this is obviously more advanced. So here we have the fly again versus Dracula. And once again, it's the Tomlin fly, which I can tell because he's got those pants that are orange. He's got the Tomlin white sneakers and the pants that are orange in the back. Very distinctive pants. He's got the Tomlin fly pockets, representation of pockets. And there's his fly claw. But that head now is more advanced. That's almost like Return of the Fly head. So he's got that oversized, very hairy Return of the Fly head with a little more detail than what's on the Tomlin fly. Then it's got this lettering that, again, seems inspired by the 70s Aurora kits with that kind of serif-y, fancy font that they used. So Dracula is a very determined-looking Dracula. He's got little hands. He's a cute little Dracula. And I don't think he's based on any toy. I think he's just Dracula. So Dracula and the Fly are going to have, what, a little battle? Is Dracula going to drink the fly's blood? Is Dracula going to manipulate the fly somehow, use him to some ends? I don't know. Or they just kind of wander into each other. Like, Fly's like, hey, who are you? I'm Dracula. Oh, what are you doing here? Oh, just hanging around. What are you doing, Fly? Oh, I'm just hanging around too. You know, monsters just kind of run into each other. I don't know if there's any value in seeing this back, but this is the the markers bleeding into the back of the paper. You might want to see that, I don't know. So let's put this over here. All right, now we're getting into some creepy stuff here. Oh, we got some good ones coming up. Okay, let's first look and see what year this is. I'm age 10, July of 79. Okay. Oh my goodness. So here we have Bigfoot and the Abominable Snowman and the werewolf. Oh dear. So let's look at Bigfoot. If we can keep this in focus. Focus. Because there's Bigfoot. And he's a nice, scary Bigfoot, kind of slouched over. And interesting, he's got claws on his feet. But compare that to the painted, or I don't know if it's paint, but it looks almost like watercolors or something, that other Bigfoot we saw. Different medium. This is a drawing, so I think these are like 1 year apart. In that 1 year, it looks like I've advanced quite a bit in my Bigfoot drawing skills. Now here we have this Yeti. He's cute. I like the way I drew this Yeti. Yeah, I like him. The Yeti's cute. Now this werewolf, oh my gosh. That almost looks like a Paul Naschy kind of a werewolf. And although I didn't know who Paul Naschy was by name, I did absolutely see his werewolf films. I saw Assignment Terror and Frankenstein's Bloody Terror on television. For sure I saw those two. But I didn't know the star was named Paul Naschy or anything about him. But I certainly was exposed to his werewolf. I don't think it's supposed to be that werewolf. It could be. I think from his feet, I forgot the name. You know those puzzles that come in cans? I don't remember the name. I've got all of them. But they come in cans, and they were out in the 70s. There was a werewolf puzzle, and the feet on that werewolf look something about these feet reminds me of the feet on that werewolf puzzle. So I bet you that's where this werewolf came from. I bet it's the werewolf from that puzzle. It kind of has a Marvel werewolf look, and I was aware of the Werewolf by Night, but I didn't read the comic book. I knew who he was. I'd seen some issues, but it was more the Power Records presentation of that werewolf that I was familiar with. There was a Power Records record and storybook about him, and that's kind of how I knew who he was. But I don't think I had any issues of the Werewolf by Night comic book. I'd seen it, and I probably flipped through a few, but I didn't. I don't think that's where this came from. I think it's the werewolf from that puzzle, which is just a generic werewolf. But I don't know. Maybe he was inspired by Paul Naschy, because it would have been around this time that I would have been watching those things. So it could be him, but probably a mix of things. So let's see these guys again. It's interesting that I've got a theme going. These furry kind of monsters, these hairy monsters, grouped together. And they're almost, unlike the other ones where it looked like they were aware of each other's presence, these seem like they're almost museum specimens. They're not interacting. They're just kind of presented almost in a zoological way. Let's see here. Well, this is cool. All right, so we continue our cavalcade of monsters with Quasimodo, the Phantom of the Opera, and the Mummy. Here's poor little Quasimodo. Obviously the Lon Chaney Quasimodo, and that doesn't look like the Aurora kit. Nah, that's probably, he's even got his little chains there. Oh look, isn't that nice? He's broken free from his chains. That's sweet. He's going to get away. But it's not really focusing really well. So I think that was probably based on pictures of Lon Chaney's Hunchback. I don't think that was based on the Aurora kit, because it just doesn't have that look of the model kit. It looks, that face is totally Chaney. That's not the model kit, and the hair and everything. Now this Phantom's interesting. That's obviously the Aurora mask, that he's wearing, he's holding in his hand. That's from the artwork on the box. But he's got his big mouth with the red lips. I didn't have the Lincoln Phantom as a kid. I'd seen it, but I didn't have it. So I don't think this would have been the inspiration for that. Again, it's probably stills of Chaney's Phantom that I saw in books. Why he's got those big red lips, I don't know. Big wide mouth, red lips, and I don't know. He's well dressed there. He's got all of his attire. Now, here, okay, this is cute. Let's see if we can get a little closer. The Mummy. That's a cute mummy. I always thought the Mummy was just kind of cute. I don't remember ever pretending, even when I'm playing with toy mummies, they were never threatening. They were just kind of cute and sleepy and just kind of want to be left alone. Looks like he's just living his mummy life. He's not trying to hurt anybody, even though he's got blood on his hand. He's got a little glow-in-the-dark head and hands, and he's got a little glow-in-the-dark hand peeking out from behind his bandages. And you can see he's got that blue outline around his bandages, and then the yellow head and hands and the red blood. So that's totally 70s Aurora glow kit artwork. The yellow head and the blue bandages. But I'm sure I didn't have that box sitting there to use as a model. So this would have been from memory, just from seeing it in the store. And I mean, I had that model, but that box would have been in the trash in a day or two. So we didn't keep boxes for this stuff hanging around. So this would have been from memory, especially this must have been like 70, what is it? No, there's nothing on the back. I'm guessing, like that other one was 79. I'm guessing this is somewhere between 77, 78, 79. But since it's comparable in quality to the last one we saw, I'm going to guess 79. 1979. So why wasn't I drawing Star Wars? Why in 1979 was I drawing these things? That's kind of weird, because I was into Star Wars just like every other kid. But I wasn't drawing Star Wars, I was drawing monsters. This is kind of late in the game to still be drawing Aurora style monsters all meeting each other in these little Monster Mash images. So I'm going to stop this again and see if I can dig up some later artwork that I thought was going to be in that stack, but it's not. So we will return in a moment. Okay, we're back. I did dig up the rest of it, and it was worth doing that. I was thinking, well, maybe we should just finish with what we had there, but no, I'm glad I persevered. I dug up the rest of this. So this is worth looking at. This is fragile. Oh, very fragile. Okay. Hang on here. Okay, let's get this. Here we go. All right, so this is not the deadly mantis. This is the, what is it? Is it MPC or Fun Dimensions? It's the Gigantic Scenes praying mantis model kit. And the way I know that is it's got this little railroad sign in one of its arms. And that's from the model kit. So that's what it's supposed to be. It's a construction paper version of that model kit. And I did have that. I had all those kits as a kid. And today I have vintage praying mantis. No. Yes. I got a vintage praying mantis, wasp, and tarantula. I don't have a vintage scorpion. I did as a kid. Had all of them as a kid. So that's what that is. That is a praying mantis from that model kit. So it's not the deadly mantis from the movie. It's the model kit. And it just says, it does say something, but all it says is praying mantis, and that's probably my parents writing that on there. Oh, wow. That's delicate. Yeah. I'm surprised nothing's been destroyed yet in the process of making this video. Okay, so this is... Can I get this right? Okay. That's obviously the creature from the Black Lagoon. I'm having trouble focusing on him. I feel like I need more light. Yeah, I don't think this one's focusing very well. But maybe it's too dark. It's interesting though, you can see he's got these weird arms that are trying to mimic posability. And it's got, like, I think it says CRE, like, is the rest of it written there? I can't tell. But it's trying to mimic, like, posability, like you could pose those arms. So it's supposed to be like an action feature. Now this is an odd one out. That's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So he's not a monster. I have to do something about to try to. Let's see here. Maybe Rudolph is a good place to pause for a second to try to figure out a way to. Let's see here. That's not going to work. I'm trying to find a way to angle this. I think that'll work. That's pretty stable. Okay, let's try that. Because then I can focus with one. I can hold it with one hand, focus with another hand, and yeah, it seems like it's getting. Maybe it's this cardboard backdrop. It's getting harder to focus as I go along. The camera is not wanting to focus. Anyway, that's obviously Rudolph. And I don't know if that's supposed to be the Rankin Bass Rudolph or just any Rudolph. It says red-nosed reindeer on the back, and I guess there's a start of what would have been an R for Rudolph, but didn't quite make it. There's Rudolph. All right, now here's more in character. Here's what you would expect me to be doing. So there is obviously a Bigfoot. And not just any Bigfoot, that is from The Legend of Bigfoot. The movie The Legend of Bigfoot. That's from the poster. And there's writing on it. But, it's like black on black writing. I can't make it out. I'll try in a second. Let's just look at this for a minute. Look at this attempted detail. I've got these little hairs sticking out of the side here. So if you've seen, well, you can Google the movie The Legend of Bigfoot and see the artwork for the poster. And that's what this is. This is the artwork for the poster of The Legend of Bigfoot. And every time the commercials for that movie came on TV, I hid behind the couch. I could not stand. They scared the daylights out of me. I remember they've struck like a POV, presumably of Bigfoot. You see the trees, moving toward the camera. So if you're the Bigfoot, the trees are moving toward and past you. The branches are coming up to your eye level and brushed away. And then an announcer says, "This is Bigfoot country." As said, I was done by then. I was like, make it stop. Turn the channel. I could not stand that commercial for that film. It traumatized me. I can only imagine how it would have felt if I'd actually gone to see it as a kid. Thank goodness I didn't. I did go to see The Mysterious Monsters when that was in theaters on its original run. I saw that. I saw Sasquatch in the theaters when that was new. I saw Creature from Black Lake when it was on the CBS late movie. I wanted to see it at the theater, but my parents never took me. But it wasn't very long afterward. It wound up on the CBS late movie, and I saw it there. So I saw, and of course I saw Snow Beast when that originally aired. That was a TV movie. There were other Bigfoot movies I saw in the 70s. I didn't see Legend of Bigfoot, and probably a good thing. I've seen it as an adult. it's it's a stupid movie. It's a hoax movie of like nature footage of Bigfoot in the wild, but it's fake. But as a kid, I wouldn't have known that it was fake. I would have believed it 100% as a kid, and it would have. I mean, I already thought Bigfoot was lurking outside the house all the time. Like every time I went to bed, I was sure Bigfoot was just outside the window, ready to peek in and look at me or smash his arm through the window. Ooh. So, but it's interesting, as scared as I was of that commercial for the Legend of Bigfoot and the newspaper advertisements, they had the poster art. Every time my parents would flip the newspaper and one of those ads would be there, like, I just couldn't stand it. But I made this construction paper version of it. You would think I'd want to avoid that. Instead, I was, I guess, fascinated by the thing that I was scared of, and kind of cut it down to size and made it something I had control over by making this construction paper version of it. Let's see if I can read what this says. Well, it says Bigfoot. Bigfoot. What? Gosh, I wish I could read this. Bigfoot circled. Bigfoot again. I see the word monster. Can't make it out. C-O... Is it Bigfoot country? Like what the announcer was saying in the commercials? Bigfoot country? What is this? M-E-N-A-R-E? Monster? Oh, there's more. There's writing all over this thing. Ape Man. I see that. Ape Man. E-R-S. Ape Man. Oh, 1975. Okay, so that's good. We got a date. So this Bigfoot I made in 1975. So just read it right here. So that thing, I made that in 1975. That's what's written on it. Which makes sense. That's when the movie was new, in 1975. So that's a little earlier than some of the other stuff we were looking at. So that was worth trying to read that just to get the date on it. 1975. I made that scary looking thing. This is just a piece of paper. It's got is that a church? I'm not sure. Just a random piece of paper to like have a background there. Okay, so that was worth digging this stuff up for. Okay, so I think we've got like an insect series here. This is, I guess, like that we saw that praying mantis. This must be the tarantula from that model kit. Although it's, the legs don't look very tarantula-like, but it's obviously, we know it's a tarantula because of these lines here and the furry back, so it must be a tarantula. And the reason, this is blood, but there's another reason why its fangs are red. Because in kindergarten, there was a show and tell. Oh, let's look at the back here. That's me trying to write my name. Not doing a very good job of it. So it's interesting that this, and this looks like, that's Arabic. So my mom's Egyptian. So my mom probably wrote that. I don't know what that says. That's definitely Arabic. So in kindergarten, there was a show and tell, and a kid brought in one of those tarantula model kits, but not with the base and the power tower, what do they call those towers? Electrical tower. Not the whole 9 yards like that. Just the tarantula part, just the tarantula itself. And I didn't have one yet. And I think it was partly seeing his tarantula in show and tell that made me go to my parents and say, I want a tarantula. Not a real one, the model kit. Only with me, I kept mine. I made the base, I made the tower, I made the whole thing, and I kept it all together. But this kid just had the tarantula, and he painted his fangs red like blood. And that, I remember that stuck with me. I didn't paint mine that way. I painted mine realistically. But he made his like red. And I don't even know if they were blood, just red. He made the fangs red. And so that's why this one has red fangs, because I'm imitating that one that the kid had in show and tell in kindergarten. I'm imitating the red fangs that his had. So that must be a very, very early. So it's interesting that some of this early artwork is better than the artwork I saw from a couple years later when I was a little older. So I must have had, like, you know, my artistic development went up and down. Wow, this stuff. I know this is getting kind of long, but this is interesting. Let's see here. Was I big on these giant insect model kits. So what is this? Is it definitely attached? Yeah, so, okay. So this is obviously supposed to be the wasp from the gigantic insect scenes. That's the wasp, and just like in the model kit, the eyes and the wings are made of a different color plastic. They're translucent plastic in the model kit, and the rest of the body is opaque plastic. And so I duplicated that in this construction paper version. So at one point, I probably had these legs bent in such a way that this thing would stand up. It's kind of with my imagination. But it's flattened out like a real bug now. And the paper behind it is something my brother did. I don't know if we can... Can't really see it very well. That's... My brother did that, whatever that is. Now, he didn't make the wasp, but that's me. But this paper that's stuck to it is something my brother did, and I don't know what that is. It looks like it has a tail. I thought the paper might be like the base for the model kit or something like that, but no, that's one of my brother's drawings that's for some reason stuck to it. Okay, well, this is kind of spectacular. This is like the grand finale to this insect stuff. This is interesting. This is neat. This is obviously the praying mantis again, and I wonder if this was supposed to be like the box that the construction paper one would go inside. So if the construction paper one we saw earlier was like the model kit, then this would be the box. And the box art, was that what I was thinking? I don't know. But it's obviously the gigantic insect scene model kit praying mantis. So if we look here, you know, it's all, everything's exploding, blowing up, and there's like that's a train down there. finally it focuses. My gosh, it's incredible. We got focus on this thing. Oh, there's a people running around down there. People running. Ah, I don't know what that is right there. Buildings in the background, and it looks like explosions. I think it's like fire explosion coming out. The mantis is attacking the building, breaking it apart. So I like that. That's a nice colorful image. I like that. So boy, I loved those model kits, didn't I? It's weird. So I apparently I loved my Tomland fly. We saw that. I must have really, really loved those gigantic insect model kits. So I think well, this, whatever this is, it's 1975. And that looks like, is it the Mummy? I guess it's the Mummy. But is he coming unraveled, or is that his, like, oh, I see it now, I see it now. There's his yellow head, because he glows in the dark, and there's, so you can see the outline of his yellow head, and there's his bloody eye, and there's blood coming down from his bloody eye. And then this is his bandages, just, you know, he's just a mess, all these bandages. So that's supposed to represent his bandages, just blah, 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 blah. This is my, like, my modern art version of the Mummy. Just kind of my impression. You know, yellow, blood, bandages, the Mummy. 1975. Now on the other side, though, is this. Happy birthday. So is that, who am I wishing happy birthday to? I mean, it says Raymond S.H., because my middle name is Sharif. But is that happy birthday to me from someone else, or am I wishing someone happy birthday? Who am I wishing happy birthday to? I don't know. I can't tell if that's, I guess that's something I made. I don't know. I have no idea. And these rubber bands are still flexible. It's amazing. Rubber bands are attached to this thing. And that's a rubber band forming his face. And that's not a monster. I mean, it could be, because he's brown. He could be the wolf man. I don't think so, though. I don't, well, you know, maybe he is, because he's got these blue pants. And wait a minute, what's this, the star? Why does he have stars? You know, maybe this is, why does he have, those aren't stars, those are rips in his knees. I think this must be the wolf man. I don't know. I don't know. Could my brother have made this as a birthday gift to me? And if that were the case, then what would this be? Because nobody has stars on their knees. I think those are rips. But if those are rips, then why are they green? Because he's brown underneath. It's a mystery. I mean, this could be something my brother made for me, like happy birthday to me. I just don't know. That's a mystery. This piece is a mystery. I mean, some things about it seem like me and some don't. And it could be, you know, it could be if my brother made that for me, like for my birthday, then it could be that this mummy, that could actually be my brother. I mean, he might have made that because he was 3 years younger than me. So that would have made sense that perhaps that would have been how he would have depicted the mummy. possible. That could have been my brother's artwork. Because now we're going, okay, so what we're looking at here, this is, well, I don't even know if it's worth showing. This is a school project, obviously. This is Columbus Day. October 12th, 1492. That's not when this was made. That's obviously supposed to be Columbus. Today, of course, you know, Columbus Day has become a controversial thing. But when I was a kid, Columbus Day was, it was just accepted that, of course, you celebrated Columbus Day. There was no controversy about it. But it's weird, though. Look, I thought this was like something pre-drawn that I just filled in. No, that's drawn on this. That's not something that was already drawn on there. I didn't just color that. That's, whoever made this drew that. Yeah. Did I draw that? Maybe I did. What's that? That's supposed to be a flag? Yeah, he's holding a flag. But I don't know what's good. Did I trace that? Maybe did I trace it? I have no idea. But it's obviously Columbus. That's drawn. That's drawn on this paper. Maybe it was traced. I don't know. Yeah, I think it. Who knows? I don't know. What's this weird thing? Alligator, 1975. Raymond Castile, age 7. He's cute. Okay, so that's an alligator. That's what that's supposed to be. So I made that in 1975 at age 7. This alligator. He's a cute alligator. And he's in 2 halves. And for some reason, he's got this red piece here. I don't know what that's all about. What's that for, I wonder? That's the alligator. He's cute. I'm getting a low battery signal, so let's see here. So this is, oh, this is interesting. That's more realistic now. Now we're getting into more realistic stuff. No date on that. But that's like a fanciful thing. That's obviously must be a couple years later because that's much more advanced. And that's like an original looking creature, but it's kind of like that alligator, but it's probably 5-7 years later. Oh my goodness. And here's another weird critter. Okay, is it in focus? Come on, focus. There we go. That's some original weird thing. I mean, I can't quite focus very well on it. But that's like some alien thing. That's obviously more advanced. I'm having trouble focusing it because it's so light. I don't know, kind of rushing through these because we're running out of battery power. Oh my goodness. Okay. So this is a full color drawing. You can see we're really moving up in ability here. It's an original creature. Very surreal. And then you've got these two guys. So this fellow looks like some kind of soldier of fortune who's maybe tried to capture the thing and didn't fare very well. And that's obviously like a scientist, I bet, because he doesn't have any weapons. So they're probably planning how are they going to catch this thing. You got the guy who's like the weapons guy, and then the guy who's more of the scientific guy, and they're hiding, and they're thinking, how are we going to catch this monster, or how are we going to capture this thing? Well, look at that weird thing. Look at that guy. And the sky behind it. You know, no more Aurora kit vegetation. It's trying for something realistic. Let's see here. Yeah, we're gonna go past that one because we're running out of time. Here's like a glob. Here's another similar kind of a glob character. He's cute. He's got a sun up there. I don't know what kind of landscape he's on, but I must have like blue globby creatures. This is my brother. This is, or is it? Yes. Well, you know, I mean, it's not, I didn't exactly get his permission to show this, but, you know, it's in the stack. Let's show it. So that's my brother. That's Gizmo. He loved Gizmo. He had a stuffed Gizmo. You can see that's very well done. Gizmo. Gremlin's even trying to imitate the logo. G. Castile, Gamel Castile. 1984. This is my grandmother. This is me trying to draw my grandmother. That's my grandmother, Laura May Moore. Like I said, she's been dead for about 25 years. But I was very close to my grandmother growing up. So that's my grandmother. Well, let's see how here I am trying to write my name in a fancy way on the back. This has got to be my brother. No, it says it's me. I would have thought this was my brother because of the colors. This is a Stegosaurus. This is our last piece of art. Yeah, I would have. My brother was more the colorful one that would have, because he was more into superheroes and I was more into monsters. But no, this is me. I'm surprised. I thought this was my brother. 6-year-old Raymond. April of, what does that say, 75. And you can see here that, where is it? There we go. So there's like a, I guess that's a caveman, or is that a dinosaur? No, I can't tell. But they're throwing something. It's probably a caveman throwing stones on top of the Stegosaurus's head, because the Stegosaurus wants to get up there to the cave up there. And I guess eat the people in the cave. So what is this? Is this a... But it looks... I want to say it's a caveman, but it looks like a dinosaur, doesn't it? It's hard to tell. Maybe when I see it on video, I'll know. But that's a Stegosaurus, very colorful Stegosaurus. That's a rainbow Stegosaurus. And that's a settlement, I guess, of cave people up here in this cave, and a cave person or some kind of lizard person throwing rocks down the Stegosaurus to try to keep it away. So that's it. Oh, I don't know what the point of that was, but I hope you were entertained by it. A little journey. And we started rushing by the end because it was getting low battery on that phone there. And it's a shame because we started getting actually kind of good artwork by the end. Some of that stuff was kind of surprising. It was detailed. You could tell I was starting to come into my own and actually figure out how to really draw things. I had in 5th grade, was it 5th grade? Yes. 5th grade, I had a teacher named Mrs. Griffith or Griffin. I can't remember. But I drew a cartoon in class that was based on something I'd seen in Famous Monsters magazine. And this was before Monty Python's Fattest Man in the World. I don't think that The Meaning of Life, that movie, hadn't been made yet. I think this was some years before that, I think. Pretty sure. So that's not where this came from. This came from something in Famous Monsters magazine. There was two characters. One was named Fat Man, the other was named Little Man. And it was like the adventures of Fat Man and Little Man. And Fat Man, and there was like captions. It said, "Fat Man eats Little Man to calm his nerves!" Exclamation point. And it showed like they're like two friends, but Fat Man was nervous or something, had anxiety, and so he eats Little Man. But then because of that, he gets so big from eating his friend that he blows up. And I remember the artwork showed him like splitting apart. And I think that came from an article about the movie. I think it's called Spasms with Oliver Reed. There's a character is bitten by a poisonous snake and he like swells up. I was inspired by that, except I took it further and had him actually finally just blow up. So my teacher found this because I was drawing this in class. This cartoon I drew of cannibalism, of one person eating another person and then blowing up and ripping apart. And she didn't like that. And she was very religious, and just the whole world was very religious back then. Very, this was back then. It was very, very, very traditional. it was a very different world back then. So to her, this was like Satan had invaded her classroom. She was not amused by this at all. So we had to have a conference. And my parents had to come in and sit down with her and the principal. It was a big thing. And my parents agreed that obviously I was most psychotic, and I had to see a psychologist. No kidding. I had to go to a child psychologist, and I couldn't draw monsters anymore. And I had actually painted a vampire, like a portrait of a vampire. I painted him in class in like whatever tempera paint or something. But as I remember, it was not a bad, for my age, not a bad painting. Okay, that had to go. So when they got that from the class, they ripped it up. And I had like a stack of drawings like you just saw, like those more advanced ones. That came from this, those came from this period. And all those had to go. They just tore them all up. And they had a trash, like when we came home from the conference, all my monster drawings torn up, thrown away. Monster painting torn up, thrown away. My monster toys were put away. And it was like no more monsters, no monster movies, no monster drawing, no monster anything. And I had to see a child psychologist. So, I don't know, I saw that psychologist for like a year. Didn't do anything but take my parents' money. So, that kind of put the kibosh on wherever all this was going. Right when I think I started to have like a bit of a breakthrough with my drawing, you could see it starting to come into its own. That's when all this hit. And so later, I think in high school, I returned to drawing, but I never quite recovered from that setback. But I think that part of why I have a monster collection today, part of why I'm talking to you today, I think I had a psychological reaction to that, to double down. I was in purgatory for a while, but once I stopped with the psychologist, once I got out of that teacher's class and went on to the next year, another teacher, and it sort of blew over, I think, and I was sort of out of prison. I think my response was just double, triple, quadruple down on horror and monsters. And I think somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm still smarting from that 5th grade experience. And man, and I tell you, when anyone acts like my love of horror and monsters is kind of weird, or they kind of got an attitude about it, I have no sympathy or understanding for their point of view at all. I just want to honestly punch them in the face. I hate that. Sitting here right now, it makes me angry thinking about that. And I can think of all the other horror fans out there who face that, who have normal people who think they're kind of weird or something because they like horror or like monsters. And like, what's wrong with you? Good grief. I mean, all those people who think that can go to hell. They can go to hell. Don't ever let people get away with that. It's not funny. It's not okay. If they don't get it, that's their problem. Whether it's your coworkers, or if it's your significant other, you might question your relationship, or your family, or whoever it is. There's nothing wrong with you. There probably is something wrong with them, because there's something wrong with the world, the normal world is a mess. So if they're part of that, they're part of the mess. We're not. We're part of the reaction to the mess, the antibodies to the mess. In the horror community, really, one thing I like about it, it really sticks together. It's like a big family. And horror conventions are kind of like almost like a giant support group where everyone kind of goes and like, we're all in this together. And unfortunately, with COVID, we haven't had horror conventions. But I'm looking forward to going to a horror convention again and being around what I consider to be normal people. Normal people who have Christopher Lee Dracula on their t-shirt, or walking around with goth black hair, or cosplaying as some horror character. I just watched Manos, The Hands of Fate yesterday, and I've never, in person, I don't think I've ever seen anyone with one of those Manos costumes, but I understand that that's a popular cosplay thing. I like to see someone with a good cosplay of that. I enjoy seeing people's cosplays at these conventions, but I'm looking forward to seeing cosplayers and people in goofy costumes and t-shirts and monster t-shirts, and looking at everyone's monster art, horror art. And I hope that we get back to that very soon, maybe this summer. Maybe I'll go to a convention this summer. I don't know. Maybe things will be back to normal enough that we can do that. I'm fully vaccinated. I think most people who want to be vaccinated will be vaccinated. And those who don't want to be vaccinated, good luck to you. I'm not going to... I mean, how long are we going to put the world on hold? And I think once everyone who wants to be vaccinated has been vaccinated, let's have conventions again. The people who don't want to be vaccinated, they can, do whatever they want to do. That's on them. So I'm looking forward to seeing horror fans in person this summer, if possible. That'd be nice. Okay, I don't know if this is even still running, if we've run out of battery power. But thank you for watching this season. Thank you for watching this channel. I appreciate it. I hope you'll stick around. And we'll have another season of Basement of Horror. And we'll grow that Facebook group. And we'll see what we can do here. We'll see where this goes. But it's been fun so far. And I hope that the best is ahead. Have a good summer. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Remember, the one who dies with the most toys is dead.